is freaking beautiful outside today. I have to go pick up TJ from school, and then we're gonna work on his Passat. He's been begging me to help him change the axle pretty much since I took the car over there for him. So I'm gonna basically just stand there and yell at him and tell him what to do, but he would like my help, so we're gonna go over there. Hopefully my brother has the tools over there. I know I have some of my tools in the trunk of the BMW because I always need my tools with me because something's always breaking. But yeah, hopefully we have all the tools. I'm gonna go pick up TJ from school. We'll probably catch you over there. Huh, that's funny. It's warm outside and now there's no freaking smoke coming out of my exhaust. You guys think I need a head gasket? Let me know down below. There he is. Pro RuneScape. Freaking master himself. Dude, you can't use that door. You gotta get in through the sunroof.
Why?
Because I said.
I'm good.
How was school?
Good. Let's get out of here before everyone fucking starts coming though.
Tell the fans about your new car.
It's got B-Tech, man!
I don't know why he got rid of the Jeep for this, but
Because I had no choice.
he wants to go fast. Honda life.
Yeah, you know, it's not about going fast, it's about getting to work. In one piece without the differential flying apart.
Let me hear it, Chuck!
Hear that B-Tech?
Is that thing supercharged? Guys, we're gonna get started on the axle, and by we I mean I'm gonna make TJ do the axle, but I want to go over the things that you're gonna need to do it. We're changing an axle on a B4 Passat, which is pretty much the same as any Mark III. Mark IIs are very similar, Volkswagens. But first things first, you're gonna need a spoon. You're gonna need some hamburger buns. You're gonna need some tuna salad. You always want potato chips with the tuna salad, and then some kind of hydration. We prefer Rockstar Boom Energy. First step to replacing your axle, you want to take your spoon and your tuna salad. Unwrap that spoon. Just get a nice old freaking hunk there. Put it on the bun. Open up your tater chips. I like to eat these with my tuna sandwich, but I also like to put them on the tuna sandwich. You get all this stuff at your local Redner's.
Run.
Guys, we got our strapping young 14-year-old man here ready to change his first axle. We're going to go over the actual tools that you're going to need for this. First off, it's nice to have a breaker bar for breaking your lugs loose, as well as for breaking the axle nut loose. On that breaker bar, TJ has a 30mm 12-point socket. For Mark IIs, Mark IIIs, B3, B4, Passats and stuff, you don't need the 12-point. You can get away with the 6-point, but if you don't have one and you're looking to buy one, I would recommend the 12-point because some of the replacement axles come with a 12-point sock or a 12-point nut, and also all the newer Volkswagens like Mark IVs and stuff, they come with a 12-point nut from factory for the axle nuts. Moving on, you'll want to have a ratchet and your basic sockets, metric, probably 10 through like 19 millimeter would do the trick. We have a 17 on there for the lugs. We have a 13 millimeter over here, but the most important tool that you'll need, TJ, hold that up. What is that?
Something triple something.
That is a triple square or XZN bit for the Mark II, Mark III, B3, B4 generation of Volkswagens. You will need the M8, I believe it is. I think Mark IV goes to the next size up, which is an M10. But here we go. We're going to get started. TJ already has the car jacked up. He does not have a jack stand under there yet because he's a dumbass. He just didn't get there yet. But if you guys don't know how to jack up the car, you don't know how to get to this point, I'd recommend that you just take your car to a shop or find a friend that knows what he's doing to do this. Alright, so TJ has a jack stand under there. Very important, guys. Even if you don't let the jack down and let the car on the jack stand, at least have it under there. There's so many times I've been working on a car where I had the jack stand under there, I had the car jacked up on the jack, and the weight of the car wasn't on the jack stand, it was on the jack. But even though it was only like an inch or so, by the time I was done working on the car, I could pull the jack right out, and all the weight of the car was on the jack stand, because over time the jack slowly creeped down. So always have a jack stand under there. You never know when that jack could fail and the whole car could come crashing down on you. We're going to get started here. TJ's going to break that axle nut loose. How about it, TJ? So TJ's going to use a little trick that I told him of putting the screwdriver in the rotor. He hasn't quite mastered it yet. Let me show you here, TJ. First off, okay, you have the screw in here. If you guys don't have a screw in your rotor, you'll want to take one of your lug nuts. Probably a good idea to do it anyway. Thread one of your lug nuts in there to the hub. Like that. Take your screwdriver and see those little slots in the rotors. You want to come up from underneath, stick it in there. Now TJ should be able to use both hands and break that axle nut loose, or bend the screwdriver. One of two things are going to happen here. It's moving, or he's stripping it out. One of the two. Mud pit. Come on, TJ. Come on, just pretend it's RuneScape. You're good at that.
I'm gonna fucking break the breaker bar.
You're not gonna break the breaker bar. That breaker bar would break your ass.
Alright, big boy brother's gonna go ahead and give it a try here. And just like that.
I guess you did all the hard work, TJ.
Yeah.
So the next step, once you have your axle nut off, you're going to have to disconnect your lower control arm from your steering knuckle. There's two ways to do that. You can either separate the ball joint out of the steering knuckle, which is the way I normally do it, because that way it doesn't affect the alignment. The other way of doing that is removing the ball joint from the control arm. There's three 13 millimeter nuts or bolts on the bottom. If you take those bolts out, you can actually slide the ball joint out of the control arm. That's probably the easiest way, because sometimes separating the ball joint is kind of a pain in the ass. If you want to separate the ball joint behind the steering knuckle under the axle, you'll find a bolt and a nut. They're usually 17s or 18s or 19s, it depends. I've seen all different sizes on there. But you pull that bolt and nut out, and then you can try and pry the control arm apart from the steering knuckle. I think for just time's sake, making it easier, we're going to take the three 13 millimeter bolts out. That's the way most people do it. I don't think it's going to affect the alignment too much, as long as we get everything back where it was. Are you just stripping them out? Please tell me you're not stripping them out.
Maybe.
Alright, Dickhead got the bolts out here. He's trying to separate the ball joint right now. You guys might have to take the tie rod off to make it a little bit easier. I think that's what I'm going to have TJ do right now. Those are sometimes fun to get out. Those are usually a 19mm socket.
Sure, this will all be way more fun putting it back together.
Oh, it's always fun putting shit back together.
Now it should pull.
No. Alright, so TJ just got that nut off, so pull that tie rod up out of there. If you're having this issue, I'll show you a trick on how to get the tie rod out. TJ, go grab a hammer. I just gave TJ my snap-on hammer, and you want to hit right here. You want to hit on the knuckle, not on the tie rod. Just no, you want to hit the side here. Don't hit the threads because you'll mess them up. Hit right there. Give it a couple good whacks. Are you kidding me? Well, we got the ball joint out anyway, so you don't have to take the tie rod off. Sometimes that makes it easier. And okay, it looks like, did you already loosen the axle bolts?
Hell no.
Well, the axle's already out. That is weird. Oh, look at that. That's crazy. It literally snapped off all the axle bolts. Everyone's snapped off. So this axle is fine. You didn't even need an axle, you just needed axle bolts. That makes me even more pissed, because we didn't even have to take this apart. We literally, all we would have had to do was put axle bolts in it. This car sat for like 3 years. More like 2 years, but this car's been sitting because I thought it needed an axle and I just didn't feel like doing it. And it needs some other stuff too. So I just parked it, but literally it snapped off all the axle bolts. It didn't even need a new axle, but we're gonna still put the new axle in anyway, and we can hold on to this one as a spare. Alright, so what I forgot to, or what I didn't realize was all the bolts are snapped off, which means all the ends are still in the axle cup on the transmission. So we're gonna have to get all the freaking ends of the bolts out of that axle cup, or replace the axle cup. If we're lucky, since there's no tension on them, they should just spin out, but it's all muddy under there, so I'm gonna make TJ crawl under there. Maybe he'll lay a towel down or something if he's smart. Alright, so TJ's under there. It looks like they are moving, so we're not gonna have to remove the axle flange. Yup, I can see it moving. It's gonna take a little bit. It's kind of... Is that bolt loose in the transmission?
This?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, honestly, that was probably when the fucking axle was flying all over the place and shit.
Maybe.
Jesus, they snapped.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be a painstakingly slow process, so we'll come back then. This nigga just put axle grease on his face. He's gonna be black for days. I can't believe I just talked him into putting axle grease on his face, bro. I told him, I can't believe he put axle grease on his face. It's gonna look badass, but still. He said, "Can you come open the door for me?" Smile.
Squeeze it in there.
Yeah, you want to get it?
I just want to grease that bitch up.
Get in between the dogs. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, grease.
At this point, you should just have him rub it around with his fingers.
Honestly, just pack it down in there.
Oh yeah.
Slide that bitch down quick and let him do that.
Dude, that's real nice.
You got this,
better than
TJ.
half the freaking chicks at your school.
What school you go to? Calico.
Oof. Alright, bud.
So you want to tell me how this is supposed to work?
Oh, you stick that axle up in that jaunt and start tightening the bolts.
said joint too.
No, dead ass. I don't know how I'm
Slide the
gonna do
splines into
this.
the where the axle nut goes.
Alright, well, you see that? You see where the subframe comes out like a square there?
Yeah.
You want to get the axle above that. You're going to have to... Yep, there you go. And basically, you just want to kind of get it lined up, but you just want to line up one of the bolts in one of the holes. And then once you...
This, you know.
Here. Does that help you?
Up to the
You
right.
want to get it around that caliper line?
Oh,
Nico.
just hit DJ in the
My
head with an
fucking
axle.
head.
Well, I'm trying to record and fucking hold this. So TJ couldn't get the freaking axle bolt started, so I actually went under there, got all greasy and dirty just to get one started. And he's over here cussing up a storm because he can't get the next one started, even though like the hardest part's already done for him. But I was doing the same thing when I was trying to work on cars, except I didn't have somebody to put the axle bolt in for me when I was being a pussy. The axle's all done. TJ got it back together after like 3-4 hours of freaking swearing and saying he wasn't gonna finish it, and then saying he was gonna finish it, and back and forth. But he did get it all back together pretty much all by himself. I did have to give him a hand with a couple things, but he pretty much did the whole axle himself. TJ, how's it feel to say that you finally did an axle?
I don't know. I'm just happy I finally started working on cars, and now the next axle I do will be much easier.
Yep, everyone you do gets a little bit easier.
How was your day?
My day was great. I gotta watch you try and fucking put an axle in.
My day was shit. I had to put the axle in.
What's next for the Passat?
Right away we're going to put air in the tires.
Okay.
We need to figure out there was a transmission bolt that was loose when we were under there doing the axle.
Yep, we gotta figure out what that's about.
And then eventually, I mean, my goal for the Passat is bigger injectors, KO3, KO4 hybrid. I want to do a 3-inch pipe out the side of the bumper, stuff like that. But in terms of getting it fixed, I need to do a head gasket and transmission. But yeah.
Yep, needs a head gasket and a transmission. The transmission still works just fine, but it doesn't hold fluid. And I think the leak was coming out of the input shaft seal, which is pretty much a transmission rebuild to fix that. Which might be worth it, might not. Either way, he needs to fix that trans or get that trans replaced. And then the head gasket, it's starting to blow some compression into the cooling system. The coolant and the oil aren't mixing yet, so it's not terrible, but it's a common problem for those things. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Maybe you learned something. If you guys are young and want to start working on cars, there's a perfect example. You can swear at cars at any age. But yeah, another thing, shout out to Solo Works for sponsoring the channel. I always list them at the end of my videos, but I always forget to talk about them because I'm always trying to fit everything into a video that I can. And as you notice, this video is like 20 minutes long, and I don't really care. Everyone's like, you need to make 10 minutes videos. Well, I try to make 10-minute videos, but it worked out that it was an interesting video for 20 minutes. At least I hope it was for you guys. Let me know your thoughts, opinions down in the comments. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe for more cool videos to come. We'll get to see more of this dickhead on the channel, beating off, playing RuneScape.
Hell yeah.